you about another way of growing for startups. And you can see it at the title. I did a little parallel between startups and corporates, and two different kind of personalities, two different kinds of institutions, and how those two groups are really tend to work together and to really fit in some beautiful projects. So let's be honest, the last 10 years, the startups really changed the economic world. But today, we also say that corporates still run it. So how can we, and that's what I'm going to present you, is my opinion on what are, for me, the most important benefits and the most important risks for both the startups and the corporates in these models of collaborations together. I'm here today, like I said, as Chief Innovation for Co.Station. So why I started there, and I started in January, so it's quite recent. Why I started there as a matchmaker, and you can see my role really as a marital matchmaker between both groups. I started mid-90s, it was the beginning of internet, so we were searching on Netscape, we were chatting in chat rooms via ICQ chats. I don't know if some of you did that too. And I was really amazed by this new kind of technology. I was working that time in a production company, and so the mother company of our company was in Paris. And we had a fax, and so we received long faxes with storyboards. And then I said to my boss, I really would like to have internet, imagine. And so we had one computer in my office with internet, and it changed my life. So we hadn't all those long scripts and faxes, so everything arrived by mail. And then I said, okay, technology, that's really something for me. I would like to continue my career in technology. And then, of course, it was the time where a lot of small companies popped up, and they built websites. And of course, mid-90s and 90s, websites were just like a digital version of a brochure of a company. I had a very big client at that moment there. It was Telenet. I don't know if you're a bit familiar with Telenet. It's a big cable operator in Belgium. And so I think I stayed in that web building company for 6 months or something. And so they hired me to start the full content, so the broadband content strategy at Telenet. It was amazing times, even if it was the beginning of 2000, so some crisis already on the bubble, the first bubble that popped up. But what was interesting, and that I also see now in my career today, is that it was really the beginning of customer acquisition for broadband. So what we did was really trying to acquire as many customers as possible, and the exercise was quite interesting because we had that excellence in a corporation of knowing exactly how we are going to acquire those customers, what was the life cycle also, and exactly also what was the cost, so at what cost I could acquire a client. And I will ask the question maybe once, who is more representative of a corporate here in the audience? Corporate guys or women? So the rest are startups, okay. So one of the very big difference between two is that in a corporate you really have that excellence of knowing what's the life cycle, knowing what's the value of your clients, knowing what it costs to acquire a new customer, knowing what you lose when what it costs when you lose a client. So really all that business excellence is something that I have learned first at Telenet and then at Microsoft after that. And then came the time where I was like, okay, I've done enough of those big guys. And I launched then, I became myself entrepreneur in 2010, if I'm not wrong. And I also joined an investment fund. So I wanted to invest in startups, but I didn't want to do it alone as a business angel. I really wanted to have a structure. So corporate experience, entrepreneurial, investments, and then the logic next step was to join Co.Station for me and really to be that matchmaker between those both corporates and entrepreneurs. So Co.Station. Co.Station is in Belgium, so it's one of the biggest tech startup ecosystems in Belgium. So we don't have a vertical focus. We don't focus, for example, on fintechs or IoT. So we are really cross-disciplinary, but only tech. So only tech startups. We have approximately 120 startups in Brussels, in Ghent, Antwerp, so 3 Flemish cities and 1 in Charleroi. So let's go into the content. First, and it will be, I really try to make it easy, but the slides will be shared. We will see the first benefits of these cross-collaboration models between corporates and startups, and there will be 4 of them. The first one is bringing back innovation. We all know that those big corporate institutions, they have a lot of power, they have a lot of resources, people, and money, but sometimes we really lack to bring back that innovation mindset and innovative projects back into the company. So a very big first benefit for those companies is working with startups, and in whatever model. There exists a lot of collaboration models, but working on innovation with startups is a very good way for them to have new providers to bring innovative projects in their company without having to work with the traditional Big 4 or Big 5 consultancy. For example, we did a design sprint, so for 1 week a design sprint with a leasing company, and for them they first came and they said, I would like to do something with AI. It's like my colleague said just before, AI is really the big buzzword today. And I said, okay, but I don't like and I don't start to work with the technology. I would like to start to work with the problem. And so what we did was a design sprint on really what's the main problem in the customer service department of that leasing company. And then, okay, we arrived at some solutions where AI or with chatbots also was used. And what we did is we had, I think it was like 4 or 5 entrepreneurs from Co.Station who were collaborating during that sprint with those corporates. And it ends up that I know that 2 of them had a contract with the leasing company, so they continue collaboration, and it's up to them then to see what they will continue to do or not. So really bringing back that innovation in the companies. This is really a one that I love, is that the problem sometimes with corporates is that they tend to really get in love with the solution. They tend to forget about the problem and the customer, and they really think that they are the best with their solution. So a second benefit for a corporate is to really, by working together with a startup, you have the tendency to go back to the real customer problem, so to the real pain, instead of only focusing on the solution that you have built. The third one, and I loved it when you said it's all about talent, about culture, about leadership, and I'm laughing for the picture. One of the most important benefits too is really those cross-collaborations will help you to really shake your entrepreneurial culture in your organization. But when you do it, don't do it too fast, of course. So don't immediately, as a corporate, bring agile methodologies or lean startup methodologies when people are not ready for it. So take the time to really do step by step, educate people step by step on what does or what should an entrepreneurial mindset be? And so don't immediately install all those new methodologies, but first really try to build up confidence, trust of your corporate mindset together with entrepreneurial mindsets. And then the last one, of course, are daring to go for new business lines, daring to go for new business models. And a very nice one is a customer that we had, and it's a quite big packaging company. And they came to me and they said, we have to innovate, we have to do some innovative projects, and so we will do a series of design sprints, and then we will do an incubation period of those projects, but we have to innovate. And every time when we came with new business models, they were like, oh no, that's not possible. For us, growing is only selling more boxes. And so that's a bit of the problem, is people in corporate organizations, they should be open to really go for new products, new value streams, and also new business models, okay? And by collaborating with startups, it will help you to go much quicker than what is possible if you do it yourself. So, now the 4 main benefits for the startups. The first one, and the previous presentation was more about VCs and external capital. We believe, and we really support the fact that one of the most interesting and important money that you can have is from your customers. So focus on money that can come in from customers. And if it's from corporates, the more the better. So really, it will give you an independence to external capital. It will also secure your equity. And it's a very good way, of course, to have your funding and your money coming from customers. And it's also the fact that when you, as a startup, and you go to pitch to investors, and that you cannot prove that maybe first you haven't put money yourself in your organization or in your startup, and that secondly, you don't have customers yet, or not enough customers, it will be difficult to have a VC or an investor on board. So, I have to check the name of this guy again. I suppose you all know this person, well, the left one. I heard that the right one was also quite famous. It's a vlogger. Yeah, it's a Romanian vlogger or blogger. But the left guy is Tudor Chirileu. Do I pronounce it right? Well, imagine if you can yourself post a selfie with this guy on your Facebook page. Well, it's a bit of the same than putting in your client reference a collaboration with ING, for example. So working with corporates is, for a startup, really a stamp of they trusted, they could work with me, I did a good job, so it will also bring you new references of new clients and other clients. And then, again, an ING. So I did some research, so it's Bangalore and Poland, those two logos. And here also, when you have your startup and you want to scale, by collaborating with corporates, sometimes they can also help you to set up collaborations with other subs in other countries. So for your startup, it's a way to have a more secure, a less dangerous internationalization plan for your company. So it can be very positive when you have an established collaboration in your own country to then have doors open in other countries. Okay? And then the last one, mentoring. We speak a lot about our startups. They can bring a lot to corporates. Well, sometimes, and we have more startups here than corporates. It's not sometimes, but often also, you as a startup, you can learn a lot also from a company, from a corporate company. And for me, it was really with Microsoft, for example. It was tough, Microsoft, but they were great because I learned a lot about commitment, about reporting, about business excellence, about figures and financing. So it was for me a very, very good school. So really try the reverse mentoring, try mentoring, try to do the two ways around. And now the risks. Let's first start with the risks for the startups. Startups need money, okay? But try not to do everything for money, of course. So if you want a collaboration model, or if you are thinking about a collaboration model with corporates, you have to be sure that some DNAs, that some real core values of your startup are really aligned with the corporate you want to collaborate with. Okay, so first take your time. If they want you to collaborate with them, they will wait. Okay, so take your time to really see, is it in your DNA, is it in the focus of your own company? Second, and I had the case with one of my previous startups. For 2 years, I had one client, and I was so proud because it was upsell and upsell and upsell, and then, of a day, they told me, okay, you only have one client, so it's very risky. So be careful when you have these collaborations, especially in the model where you're just a provider of services. Be very careful that the day that that customer leaves, or if there is an issue or a change in the organization, and it's not your contact person that is anymore in the decision-making of with whom they collaborate, you can lose everything, and it can be very painful for your cash flow. Another one is the loss of focus, and it goes together with this one, especially also for SaaS startups. So software that you say, okay, I'm going to build a software, I'm going to sell it online. You have like the basic, the premium, and the gold package, whatever. It's like typical, and people are going to buy online, and so I don't have a sales team, and everything goes online. Typical error, typical thing that happens. They have a first client, a big client, and what does the client ask? Custom development. So really features that you have not put in your product, but you try and you start to develop and you start to do really customized projects or products for clients, and your SaaS software is not what you had in mind anymore before. I had the issue also in a startup where we invested in the fund, and they did so much custom development, and they were seen after, I think, 5 or 6 years, they were really seen just like an agency who could develop things. And so they had really, if they wanted to go back to their initial scope, they changed names, so they really had to change everything, all the branding and all the mindset that people had from them too. And then the last one, it's the last one for this. Be careful not to grow too fast and to lose your spirits. So your child spirit, all the dynamic that you have in you, all that mindset and why you started it. If you start a collaboration with a big dinosaur, with a big elephant being a corporate, be careful not to lose your own spirit, your own culture, your startup culture, and what you started it for. So be very, very careful for that. And then the risks for the corporates. Yes, there are also some risks for them. The reputation, and that's very, in the bank sector, it's something that is really happening a lot. I know a lot of banks, we have some collaborations with banks, and they always say, can we start collaboration with startups without mentioning we are the bank? It's a bit difficult, of course, but we try to make them understand that they will win with it. Whatever happens, there will be some learning for both sides. And for example, Microsoft or Google, when you were selected as the alpha or the beta tester, you were very proud. So try to also, as a corporate, see the benefits, or sometimes making some services or some products that are not perfect. Immediately let them test also, or has been tested by customers. So really, as a big organization, of course, your brand or your reputation could be damaged somewhere, but you can learn a lot also by collaborating with bigger or with smaller partners. Loss of investment, I love the sentence of sometimes you win and then sometimes you learn. okay, yes, sometimes you have invested in something, but always, and there will always be a certain learning in the mindset or in the spirit of the people. So don't see innovation projects with startups as only an investment, a financial investment, because you will be very disappointed when one of the, I don't know, only 1 or 2 of the 20 will succeed and the rest could be lost. So see it always as something that you can learn from and not only on figures. Unsure outcome is one of the risks, is that corporates, when they start collaboration with startups, they tend to do it like when they do projects at their own, all alone. So they tend to control everything, to have processes, to have roadmaps. And then, of course, the startups come and they collaborate together and they see that the startup is just like, let me test this and then we are going to learn. And then you have, of course, all these agile and lean methodologies. And for the corporate, it's like, oh my God, this isn't in the roadmap that I have put for the next 26 months. So, yes, try to really understand what is the scope and to where you want to go, but don't try to control everything. And let a little bit of dynamic also between both. That was also one. I had an FMCG client, a very big food company, and who said to me, yes, I would like to have a collaboration with Co.Station, because we have 2 objectives. We would like to create an investment committee at the name of the brand, and the second thing, we want to collaborate with startups. And that's when I said, collaborating with startups, it's a mean, it's something that you will have at the end if you want to, but it's not a strategy. You cannot put in your strategy for growing, it's like, I want to collaborate with startups. And that's something we had at Co.Station, is we have, of course, a lot of startups, and people were just calling us like, can we come and visit Co.Station and see the startups? Well, you know, these are not animals, so if you want to come and see them, let's first prepare something and know where you are and what's the challenge you are facing and why you would like to collaborate with them. I'm going to end with the last slide, with some slides on main questions that you have to ask yourself if you really want to have a collaboration with a corporate. Questions for the startup. Will you have enough cash yourself? Starting relationship with a corporate, just a provider and client relationship, or a collaboration model that asks more legal and more time and paperwork, know that is something that will last very, very long sometimes. It's a minimum of 9 months. If you're very lucky, it can be 3 to 6 months just for a supplier and client relationship. So you have to have enough cash and a structure that can allow you to have these months regular incomes in your company, and that can assure you that all your invoices, of course, can still be paid. So you have enough comfort cash-wise in your company. The next one, are you speaking to the right person? Because sometimes these months can be shortened if you're sure to have the right contact person. If you feel that something is stuck, try, always politically correct, of course, but try really to find other people and to, of course, adapt also your speech. So even if your company or if your value proposition is the same, try to really have very precise next steps and action points for the people that you are talking to. So really be sure that you are talking to the right persons. You should be also able to handle frustration. We sometimes say that entrepreneurs are a bit like spoiled kids. But in this case, it's more like if you are developing a proof of concept with a corporate, the day that they say, okay, let's go and implement it or buy it or whatever, there will be a lot of things that will change. Try to keep the core of what you have developed intact, but you have to adapt yourself sometimes also on some political games that are present in these corporations. And so, when speaking about these political games, one of the main problems I was facing also is the middle management. And why is this middle management sometimes so a pain in the ass for a startup? Is because they are scared, and they are scared of losing control of something that they could decide. So it's sometimes really that level and that wall that you will have to find how to go on the other side to meet senior executives. And then the last one, working for free. We see a lot of startups that accept to work for free in order to use the logo of a client or of a corporate. So if you want to do it, you can do it, but just be aware that if you are developing things for free, try then certainly to negotiate the ownership of the IP, or to keep the ownership of what you are developing then for free for some big names. For corporates, silos, they tend to disappear, but innovation and to work on innovative projects, we always recommend to have quite transversal work groups and workforces. So transversal and silos can be a contradiction. So really try to explain to people why some transversal work groups are necessary. And that's something, by the way, that ING is doing very well also. So really transversal groups, and that's also explain to people when they have to work on, or if they want to work on innovative projects, and that it's top of the job or not. And often today, a lot of these innovation leaders or digital champions, or how do you call them, they are doing the job on top of their daily job. And you will have very motivated people, so that's a very good thing, but you really have to explain the difference in how they will work. Are you in for the long run? One of the big dangers we see is that, so they start on innovation, they start internal incubators, they start projects, and then they see bottom line that the figures are not delivering what they expect it would deliver. So just really be very lucid, yeah, on what do you expect, or what are the benefits that you can have on a short term, and what are the expected financial returns you can or you cannot expect in a short or in a long term. So really, how long do you want to take the journey, and if you want to go for the long run, of course. And that happens also with the digital champions and the young guys that start to work in a corporate that are very into innovation, and they start to work and they start to meet startups, and then they are stuck. They cannot explain it to the C-level, because if they want these innovation projects, if they want these collaborations to establish or to be fruitful in an organization, you really need to have the full C-level support also in your own organization. And then it goes a bit with the middle management, and don't be angry if we have little middle management here. I was also middle management, so the not invented here syndrome, it goes also a bit with the been there, done that. And in a meeting, when you have the not invented here syndrome together with the been there, done that, okay, then you can stop discussion. And so the not invented here can really be something where projects get stuck, and where indeed some manager says, no, but we can do it ourselves. We are big enough, we can do it ourselves. So try to really get rid of that syndrome there. And the last one, and I like it, it's the curiosity. Innovation will ask an organization to be creative and to be curious. And sometimes, and I think it's really, really true, that curiosity and creativity are much more important than knowledge. And you can have people in your team with a very high knowledge level. If you're lacking that curiosity and that creativity, it will be very hard to have innovation project or open innovation possibilities in your organization. Main takeaways, types of collaboration models a corporate can use. There are a lot of models. There are a lot of lawyers that can illustrate also all these models that can be established. The one that I see the most is you have business units who are asking startups for innovative projects or innovative support for some projects, and they receive a compensation. One of the very classic model of a supplier and a client. Another model is a corporate builds an innovation unit within the organization, and they can ask proof of concept, some POCs on some projects to startups or to external incubators. They deliver, and it's the only relationship that there is. Third model, and we are now also collaborating with a very big construction companies who is doing all the bridges and types like that. You have the corporates. The corporates creates an incubator within the corporates, and then they invite or they acquire, maybe not immediately financially, but they invite startups to come into their incubator and to work for a certain period of time on some projects that are for them key in their growth. So really it's more the inbox model. And the fourth one is we have also this model at Co.Station. It's the startup studio model. So where you have a corporate who has some challenges, who asks the studio to find an entrepreneur, and they are building a new company, a new venture. These are really the four models that we see the most, at least in Belgium also. So really decide also what are you ready for, and you can do it in a certain chronological way. You don't have to immediately jump into this model 4, for example. And for the startup, we've seen it already. So are you solid enough for this long lead time sometimes? Do you have the key stakeholders? What will your governance be? Don't waste too much time in all these meetings with those corporate guys, but you will have to do some. So really try to be very clear on what is expected on a governance level. What will be your key metrics? How will you measure, and how will they measure also success in what you are doing together with them? And why does the corporate want to collaborate with you? So what do you have that someone else doesn't have, and why do you want to collaborate also with him? Thank you for listening to what I had to share. I will be very happy to continue to discuss on this topic. And I really believe that there are some beautiful things that startups and corporates can do together, but you have to be very aware what you're starting with and with whom you're starting with. And it can be a one-night stand romance, or it can be a long-term relationship. I think there will be some beautiful babies projects that can getting born with these collaborations. Thank you.